Well, this brand new CNN video is certainly generating a lot of traffic, and I bet it's based on nothing but solid journalism. Let's take a look. Before I get back to the topic at hand, this video is sponsored by the Patriot Solar Cooker. Purify and boil virtually any water source, anytime, anywhere. All you gotta do is open this thing up to the sun, set it, and forget it. Check that out, just boiling water. The code for your massive discount and the link is in the description below.
The president, though, preparing this morning for a day of meetings with world leaders at the NATO summit in Britain as a new stage of impeachment hearings gets underway just hours from now in Washington. Now, the summit so far marked by some tense interactions, including a few with French President Emmanuel Macron. Adding to the tension, a new video that surfaced last night showing several of those very same leaders seeming to gossip about President Trump. Now, this pool video was first noticed by the CBC. Microphones could only pick up fragments of the conversation. Oh, to be a fly on the wall of that cocktail party. As you can see, they didn't mention Trump by name, but he was the only NATO leader who held a 40-minute-plus press conference. Add it all up, and the day is sure to be a test of the president's diplomatic skill.
Now, of course, the National Enquirer, CNN has no problem embellishing and reaching down deep into their bag of deception in order to make broad suggestions as to what they think these world tyrants, leaders, are talking about. And of course, Trump is their target because talking bad about Trump is and has been their bread and butter for the last 3 years. Could it be that these people are talking about something else? Sure, but it's way more juicy to surmise that they're talking about Trump. They could be talking about Ted Turner and his team over there at CNN. But even if they were talking about Trump, who really gives a damn about what world leaders think? They're as parasitic as America's clown show, and as ridiculous as the mainstream propaganda arm of the CIA. And I'm not backing Trump here by any means. This is all part of the theatrical show to keep stringing you along to make you think fake news outlets like CNN and so-called world leaders are somehow legitimate.
This is how they talk about our president.
Yeah, as if he's a joke. They're talking about him. It's the truth.
You know, the whole payoff here of his style.
When people are laughing at you, that means you're the joke. He's the brunt of a joke right there. And the irony here, he's the one who's always making fun of people, coming up with pet names, calling people horrible names. Pet names, Sleepy Joe and whatever, right? And he gets laughed saying, oh, the whole world. He's right. People are laughing not at us, but at him.
They're certainly not laughing with him like they do at the rallies. It's like our mothers taught us. When you say ugly things, it says more about you than whoever you're directing it toward. Mm-hmm. And like Angela Merkel sitting next to him today when he said, Trudeau's two-faced. But you know what? He's a pretty nice guy. The payoff to his style is supposed to be that it is perceived as strength around the world and that Obama was soft, but Trump is strong, and that's why we get so much respect. Does that look like respect? Those are major world leaders.
So CNN wants you to care about what other world leaders think about America and the guy who calls himself president. And they can't stand when Trump goes off script. But the kicker in all this is the level of deception that both Trump and the Communist News Network continue to try to employ as the noose tightens around the necks of Americans' freedoms by the invisible hand of the bankers.
For the very latest from the summit, let's turn to CNN diplomatic editor Nick Robertson. That certainly adds a level of drama and gossip to the events and the proceedings, doesn't it, Nick?
It does. Justin Trudeau deciding not to comment or add anything to those words that were picked up just last night. So I think what we're seeing here is down to business. The NATO Secretary General arriving here and saying very clearly the agenda today: arms control, fighting terrorism, dealing with Russia, the rise of China. These are the big issues on the agenda here. Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, showing up and saying that the reason NATO is so strong is because it can change to fit the situation. 29 nations together, 1 billion people. It's safety in numbers.
Safety in numbers. Yeah, never mind that Washington said in his farewell address, it is our true policy to steer clear of permanent alliance with any portion, guys, of the foreign world. And in his inaugural pledge, Thomas Jefferson was no less clear. Peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations, entangling alliances with none. And yet, here we are entangled in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
We've asked the White House if they've got any kind of reaction to that. They haven't gotten back to us yet. But of course, the president doesn't like this idea that there could be other world leaders who are laughing at him. Because yes, if you watch that video, they do seem astonished while talking about the fact that there was this 40-minute press conference. But it's not in a way that the president will like. It's in a mocking manner where they're talking about how late the president was, how long that press conference went on while they're discussing this, seemingly alluding to Trump. And of course, this is a president who on the campaign trail and time again since he's been in office has said that he is so much better at being president because the United States is not getting laughed at by the world like they were when Barack Obama was in office. Listen to just a few of the occasions where he's made a similar remark to this.
The world is laughing at us, folks.
They're laughing at us, at our stupidity. They laugh at us. They're laughing at us. It's just crazy what's going on.
Everybody's laughing at us.
They're laughing at us. We don't know what we're doing. They're laughing at us because they think we're stupid.
So you see there, he's saying the world is laughing at us. And if you look, it's not just Macron and Trudeau and Boris Johnson, but also there's a member of the royal family. Who seems to be in on that conversation while they're talking about the president. And of course,
oh, the pedo royal family? Yeah, we care about what they say, right? This segment is such a joke. How many times has CNN been caught taking clips and tight shots out of context and fabricating entire stories? Trump may well be a joke, but what political psychopath isn't? What mainstream outlet isn't?
This is a president who's greatly impressed by the royal family, wants to impress them every time he's here. So the question is about how he's going to respond to that. But of course, now he's got several meetings with world leaders throughout the day, including Germany, as Nick noted there, but also another interesting one, which is going to be the leader of Denmark. Remember, that was a big point of contention in the White House when the president said he wanted to buy Greenland and then had to cancel a meeting later on after the prime minister of Denmark said no, Greenland was not for sale. You never know when Trump is going to go off script.
And if it's one thing we know about mainstream media and political parasites, they don't want to go off script.
And earlier you said about 2 hours. It was 2 hours and 1 minute exactly that the president spent speaking with reporters extemporaneously. Nothing that was planned, of course. And we often see him do that at home, but not so often as he did it yesterday. 3 times in a row, speaking with reporters. And often that is what makes world leaders brace for his arrival at meetings like this, because they never know what he's going to say. And his meeting with the Canadian prime minister was pretty tame in comparison to the one with the French president. But it's still, during that meeting with Trudeau, you saw the president needling him over how much money they were spending on defense, that percentage of NATO that requires you to have 2% of your GDP.
See, that's what's wrong with NATO. It's a foreign power that lays requirements on other nations, and it truly becomes an entangling alliance where they call the shots. There's no way you can say a nation is sovereign if it's part of NATO or the UN. And they're making a big deal out of Trump asking a foreign leader to look into the corrupt practices of Biden. These people need to get a grip.
And that's something we expect to continue to happen today, because on the president's schedule is a lunch with the 2%ers, meaning the only people that are in the NATO alliance, the only countries that are in the NATO alliance that do spend 2% of their GDP on defense. The president is making a point of pointing them out, and you can also expect he's going to single out those countries that don't.
What do you guys think about this? Leave your thoughts about this nonsense for the world and the Google Thought Police in the comments section below, and I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.